Good morning, everyone. So today it's more for onboarding new LOs or a refresher. I know I do have a couple of new LOs. Welcome. That want to go ahead and learn how to navigate through Encompass and how to submit with us. So by what I mean by submittal is basically, let's say you have a new borrower that is either refinancing or purchase that is in escrow and you want to go ahead and submit it over to us for disclosures. So today I'm going to start a little bit backwards. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys our submittal form. We do have a form that you guys are required to send over so that we can go ahead, and this will help our disclosure department as well as our processing department know what type of loan that you're submitting. So what this does is, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up. So this is called our I-Core lending submission form.
Is that the income plus? Is that plus?
No, not income.
So,
So this is our I-Core lending submission form. So this basically is, I mean, it's really, really straightforward. Just basically who the loan officer is. We don't need to put your NMLS number. That's okay. We have that in-house. Your phone number. Again, you don't need to put a fax number. That's okay. If you do have a personal LO that system that you use, you can go ahead and place that here. Your borrower's names as they are going to be taking title. This is important because, as we're going through the transaction, you want your LOA or your processor to know how they're going to be taking title. For instance, like my name is Jael Munoz. I want to take title as Jael Munoz. Maybe somebody would want to take title as Jael Y Munoz. So you want to just make sure that you're placing this correctly here, as well as in Encompass, so that we are able to assist you with that. The reason we do ask for the email here is just to just to kind of like double check that the email is correct in Encompass for the loan disclosures. Subject property will be here, and as I go through Encompass, you guys will see why we do need it here. If it's a purchase or a refinance, we need the address to be placed here so that you guys are not placing it in Encompass and triggering disclosures. What type of loan this is, whether it's a conventional, it could be conventional high balance, FHA high balance, a streamlined VA, USDA, whether it's a 30, 20, 15 year. If it's an ARM, ARMs are coming back. So these are the ARM rate options here. Loan amount, your purchase price if it's a purchase, the interest rate that you have quoted your client, their mid-FICO score. If it's a 30-year, you put 30, 20, 15 here. Whether you actually here on the I-Core to order appraisal, we always do because we order it through our AMC. Whether or not your borrower wants impounds. Of course, if they're meeting that 80% mark, they do have that choice to waive impounds or not. If it does not hit that 80% mark, we cannot waive impounds. So of course we would have to, that would be yes impounded. And that's just your escrow account. Whether it's full doc, streamline or W-2 only or 1 year LP. This is important because let's say you're going 1 year LP with a self-employed borrower. We want to know, that of course, right? Usually your amortization type will always be fixed unless you're choosing an ARM option up here. What type of, transaction, whether it's a purchase, a rate and term refi, or a cash out refinance, and your occupancy. What type of property you're purchasing here, whether it's a single family, PUD, condo, or units. And it's where it's really important. This is how you guys get paid. So these fees are not updated, but that's not a big deal. We have them in-house. But this is where we need to know whether you're charging an origination points in a percentage or flat. So let's say you're charging 1%, you want to put 1% on here. If you're charging just $5,000, you want to put $5,000 there. So that's going to help be able to, make sure that your originations are being disclosed up front because you cannot add them after the fact. Any type of notes that you might have for your processor here, let's say, the borrower is selling a home to purchase, let's say. Then they know that when they go in I'm gonna actually change this up to make it double lines, but I'll send that over to you guys. Then your processor's already gonna know when they see your the REO excluding the mortgage, they're gonna be like, oh, well, my notes say that they're selling the home. So it's little notes like that that you can have here, or you have this comment section here. You know, I had a situation where I have a client who has a house in Arizona, but it's not showing up in his in their, you know, their taxes. So I can place a note here, you know, borrower just purchased a property in December. They started renting the property mid-January, and they're currently collecting rents. Boom, now my processor already knows, oh, okay, that's the little whatever's off on this transaction. This will have emails here, so when you are sending it over to new loan submissions, make sure you're attaching this and your escrow fee sheet or escrow fee information. For instance, if it's a refinance, you do have to open escrow. If you do need assistance with that, we can definitely assist you with it, but we are going to need fees to be able to disclose. If we don't have fees, we cannot disclose. If it's a purchase, we do need your master fees. So just keep in mind, it must be buyer and seller fees. And escrow will know that they do have to send the lender a master fee. Why? Because if there's any type of prorations, we do need to disclose all that on our loan disclosures. So anybody have any questions with regards to this sheet? I'm going to update a couple things like our address. We did move and all that and send it out to everybody. But does anybody have any questions with regards to that?
I do. So you said we have to have fees from title before we can disclose.
Yes.
We can't pull like general fees or estimated fees to be able to disclose?
No, we have to have title and escrow fees because every title company or escrow is very different. So we've had situations where we did that, and unfortunately it bit us in the behind. So come on. Yeah, come on in. You know, so again, we can assist you with that. So if you don't have title or escrow if you only have their information, and keep in mind, guys, I've had this happen a lot where escrow companies will not work on a transaction until they have earnest money if it's a purchase. I tend to do an email, very, very nice email, that I create that basically will email escrow, their assistants, the listing, and the selling agent. And I will state, this is my list of items that I'm going to need. If you can please assist me with the bare minimum, sending me the master statement, I can commence my loan process. Without the master fee sheet, I cannot commence my loan. If you can please assist me, I would really appreciate it, you know? So I kind of put escrow on blast a little bit. And keep in mind, guys, I was an escrow officer. I know what it's like to have to put in all those hours and the deal cancel. So I understand why escrows do that, but at least it puts that mark back on the escrow company, which is back on the seller now because they chose the escrow, right? In this case, it allows my buyer's agent or my selling agent to be able to ask for an extension of contingencies if their escrow is taking forever. So yeah, we do need them. And especially when nowadays with everything being, every lending escrow company charging all these junk fees, like, you know, I have one that charges a scan fee, and it's like, really? Like, you're literally going to put it on the printer and scan it. I did not charge scan fees, by the way, when I was an escrow officer. But that's the reason why we do need the master, especially when it comes to a purchase.
Okay. Are you able to send out that email that you send out so we can save it like as a template and we can just kind of get ahead of it too?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, what I do is first always CC the listing agent because they chose the escrow. And I do it in a way where I'm not looking like I'm being, you know, not petty, but you know what I mean? I do it where it just shows like, hey, we're working with you guys to work with us. So, but yeah, for sure, I can definitely send that to you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions with regards to this loan submission? If not, so I'm going to go ahead and again, guys, I'm going to update this a little bit today and shoot it out to all you. I know we have a lot of new loan officers that have come in, and again, welcome. I'm going to shoot this out. And I'm gonna show you guys everything that we are going to need, going forward. Once you go past that disclosure process, because your disclosure department's not going to care if you have your pay stubs, all that stuff in there, but your processing department will. So we're now gonna go ahead and get into your Encompass. So if you guys are not familiar with Encompass, when you guys log in, you guys are gonna get your login and password. When you guys log in here, you're gonna see that this is pretty much going to be what you're gonna see. It might be a little bit different for you guys because it depends on how your modules are set up. Excuse me, sorry. You can just go ahead and close this out. And again, your modules are gonna be very different than mine because I'm in the processing and underwriting department, so I'm gonna see a variety of different modules. You guys will also see different modules. The majority what you guys would see is definitely here where it says recently viewed loans. If you guys are opening up any new transactions, you're definitely gonna be seeing your most recent transactions that you're working on. Anna, I'm sorry, Anna who, because she might have the wrong link.
No,
You want to share the link with her? Because
no, I have the email, but my iPad died, so I'm trying to go in and it's saying host has another meeting, but it's the meet. I'm logging into the meeting at 11.
what is her email address? I could shoot it over to her.
Ana Dianda at gmail.com.
Yeah, because I have a couple people that are messaging me on the other meeting,
Okay.
and it's so Anna
Dianda at gmail.com. I'm sorry about that.
No. I don't. It's good to know now because we're running through it and she doesn't get to see it. So ANADEANDA@gmail.com.
Correct.
Perfect. Let me know if you get in before I get started so I can. Yeah, because there's a couple that I set up and it was sent out and I don't want you guys missing this. Let me know if you guys have any trouble. So again, guys, when you guys go in here, again, your modules are going to be very different. You guys can add and remove modules if you want here at this top right. It just brings up like, like this expo. Some stuff has not been updated yet. I'll find out how to go ahead and update, but this is really cool, guys, because I mean, as we all know, trade laws have changed, and they constantly change, right? But the biggest thing that's really, really important for us is whether our state is dry state or wet state, right? So there's wet states and there's dry states, like basically it just means signatures. So let's say you guys lock on a specific date. Let's say you lock on the 22nd. I know this is April and we're going to try to get this to be updated. Your date to send out LE is that same date. And then you have let's say we go ahead and have to send a CD the following day. We remember we do have that 3-day waiting period before we can go ahead and have your borrower sign and then go ahead and fund, especially when it's a refinance. So if you're trying to meet, funding periods, which our last date of fund is the 30th to meet your funding for the months, you want to go ahead and know your TRID days. So this is really cool. And I'm going to have this update again, guys. I don't navigate through, I don't admin Encompass, so I don't update this, but I'm going to make sure this gets updated because this is really cool for you guys to know, like, hey, when's my last day to lock so that I can be able to fund the same this month. So this is a really cool little tech, little kind of like a little time bomb. So when you're going to go in to go ahead and add a new borrower, again, this is how your Encompass is going to look when you log in. You're going to come up here where it says contacts. And it's going to go ahead and populate. As we go in, we're going to go ahead and add a new contact up here in this button. And then you don't need to put too much information here, but so as of right now, I'm going to put a borrower one. And then you want to put their social. and their address. The cool part of it here is you can go ahead and put the zip code and it's automatically going to populate whatever city and county. So you click that. And then you're going to go over here and hit save and originate loan. As you guys can tell, I already have borrowers with that same name and last name. So it's going to let me know, hey, you just recently opened one. So do you want to create a new one? I can either hit cancel and just find that one, or I can create a new. Let's say, for instance, this borrower was basically just, they had just bought with you and now they're coming back to refinance. It's going to populate that one. So you don't want to go back to that same one. You are going to create new. But let's say this borrower was shopping around and one of our other LOs got it. Well, here's how you will know if one of our other LOs they were already shopping with them. You'll see if it was in the system. It could just be also, again, like my husband's name is Juan Carlos Munoz. It's the most common name out there. It could be just that. So, just keep this in mind that if there's a duplicate, it'll warn you about that. In this case, we're going to hit create new. It's always going to be a default prospect. And then you hit continue. So as it populates, so now it's going to take you to this page here. So as you as a loan officer, it's not going to default to that. So you want to go ahead and click this little lookup button and find yourself as a loan officer. You can click the last name to make it easier. Click yourself as a loan officer and place yourself there. You don't need to choose loan processor, underwriter, none of that. You just yourself. And the reason for that is when you go to save it, if it doesn't have a loan officer, and it's going to go based on your state. We have Arizona, we're working on Florida, Nevada. So any state that you have on here, it's going to actually populate to the state that you're in, that you are licensed under. What I like to start is hitting my forms button here. I like to put the show all and show all in alpha just to make it easier for me to navigate through my options. I like to go ahead and get started under my borrower summary origination. So this is pretty much going through your application and it's going to translate a lot of this information to different parts of your IRLA application form. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You guys can put, the vesting type is always going to be individual. What your borrower's name, again, you guys want to go ahead and run credit like your borrower wants to take title. For instance, again, my name is Jael Munoz. I can go ahead and put Jael Y. Munoz. I may not want to spell out my middle name, right? And then you're going to put, date of birth, their home phone number. If it's the same as their cell phone number, you can just leave it in one. That's okay. Their work phone number would be helpful if you guys, for your processing team. If you guys do ask your client, and I actually do ask my client in that moment, do you have a number for HR? Is there, or a supervisor that I can contact so I can get your verification of employment? So that's the work number we usually want to get here. Their marital status, whether they're married or unmarried, and their email. So we only need a home email. We don't need a work email, but this is the email your disclosures are going to go to. So just make sure that it is correct, that it's actually spelled out correct, because we've had instances where we have our clients or our loan officers coming to us and saying, hey, they never got the email. Well, and then it was misspelled. So always double check this, because this is the email where it's going to actually go out to. Your purpose of the loan, you don't need to complete that, but if you do, because I'm in OCD and I like to complete everything, is always seeking a mortgage. And it's 90 days. And then apply for a mortgage. You don't need to complete this. We'll complete that for you, but it is ICOR Lending as a company info. Here, you do want to make sure you put how long they've actually been in their current address, because when you do go and run DUNLP, the system will actually come up and say that there's some kind of error. So as long as it's 2 years, you want to go ahead and fill that out. If it's less than 2 years, then of course we're going to do a former address here. If it does not apply, we could click does not apply. Do keep in mind up here, if this is a borrower, let's say it's a husband and wife, we're going to go ahead and place them both here, husband and wife. If it's a single person who's not married, we can put no co-applicant. This will go ahead and gray out a lot of options in the ERLA application, so that when you do go run DU and LP, it's not going to be asking you for co-applicant information. If you do have a co-applicant that is a non-borrowing spouse, let's say, and not in the sense of like FHA, but meaning, let's say, I'm sorry, not a non-borrowing, a non-spouse, meaning it could be a brother, it could be, you know, a cousin, they could be, you know, two friends buying together. You will add a second option up here, but I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit later on that. So this is only for husband and wife co-applicants here. So as we run through this, again, if it is less than 2 years, you do put a former address here. If not, you can click does not apply. Do keep in mind, guys, that if they're purchasing, for instance, a second home or an investment home, you do want to put the housing here. So whether they own or rent, you place that option here. You don't have to put a rent amount, but if you want to, you can. But let's say, for instance, they own this home and they're purchasing an investment home. You want to make sure you click this little edit value and place your actual mortgage information here. The reason for this is, for some reason, Encompass picks this up and not here when you're purchasing an investment or second home. And remember, this does affect your DTI. So if they do currently own a home and they're purchasing an investment home or a second home and they have a mortgage, place it here. So you do want to do that because this is going to affect your DTI here if you did not place that for a second, or so remember, it's only second home and investment. If they're purchasing a primary, it does not matter. So now, again, this is for a former address. This is where we will run credit here. I'm going to skip through this right now, only because I have another template where I'll show you guys how to upload it. You do want to click the when they authorize your credit and how did they authorize it, whether it was phone or face-to-face. This is HMDA reporting information. So it is important if you guys can fill this out. Did you guys meet face-to-face? Was it through phone? And then when did they give you the authorization? So once you run credit, this is automatically going to input your FICO scores and then your reference number. So again, I'm going to go through another one just because I don't have the reference number, so I'm going to give you guys that right now on how to run credit. Sorry. Here's where your subject property information is. So if you guys place an address here, it's going to trigger an alert over here to disclose your form. Even if it's a refinance, guys, always just keep this in mind. Always by default, please just type in TBD. I've had some people put TBA, TBS. I'm going to be honest, I don't know why the system picks it up as an address if you put TBA or TBS. TBD, just put TBD. So that way you do not have to trigger disclosures. So again, TRID laws apply. If you guys have a transaction, let's say you're sitting here quoting your client, but they're shopping you around and you place an address, you have 3 days to disclose this loan. If you don't disclose it, guess what, guys? You have to start your application over. Literally filling out every single page all over again. So my biggest recommendation, street address, TBD. Don't put nothing else in there. If you have the, the zip code to the property, that's okay. You can place that in there. That's not a big deal. But your street address, just put TBD. This is why on this section here, I'll have you guys place that subject address here. Because then here, we will fill that out for you and trigger that TRID countdown. And this is, like I said, it's mainly because we all know, especially nowadays, all these borrowers are shopping around, so let's say you take this application and they decided to go elsewhere, but then they come back to you. Well, you still have your application ready. So, and it wasn't triggered on those 3 days to disclose. So property type, whether it's an attached, if it's a condo or a PUD, we do manufactured housing. So if it's a manufactured home, detached, if it's a single family. Let's say your value here. Why is this important, the value? Because let's say you're doing a refinance. Then you want to see your LTV, right? So this is going to tell you what your LTV is. and you just need to put your estimated value. For DU and LP, you do need to put a construction type method. So whether it's a site built or a manufactured home, again, this is for your DU or LP when you go to run it, because it is going to want to pick up what type of construction is this. Here's where you guys would find your loan program. Whatever loan program it is, you hit up your lookup value. And you'll see all the programs that we offer here. Now, non-QMs are not in here. So just keep that in mind. If you have a non-QM, you do not have to click up this lookup value. You can just let us know and we'll go ahead and set it up for you. But you do have your 15-year conventionals, whether it's cash out, no cash out purchase, your ARMs, your 30-year conventionals. The 20-year is not in here just yet. I'll go ahead and get that placed in there. But you can use, let's say, the 30-year and change the term. So let's say you have a borrower who just wants to come in and do a no cash out refinance 20-year, but I don't have that option. You can hit select on the 30. It's going to give you your terms of 360, but you can change this here. So you'll just change it, basically do your term, do in 240, and then that way it'll calculate your payment correctly based on a 20-year loan. So that is the option here for a conventional now cash out refi. And as you can tell, it automatically populated your purpose of your loan, your property type, amortization, lien, and your loan type, right? So that helps you. That's one less step you got to do. Let's say this is a non-QM and you want to just let them know, just place alternative, and then we'll know what it is. And then I can show you guys where to put notes. So you guys can put, you know, this is a DSCR or it's a 1099 or I-10 loan, whatever it is, we still need to have it here, and our processors will actually upload it to the appropriate sites. Your closing costs. Let's say you have a borrower, again, who's shopping you around. So you want to click your closing costs, and you can click whatever type of loan you're doing, whether it's FHA streamlined, conventional, or FHA. Again, we are licensed in Texas and Arizona and working on a couple other states already. So the fees are vary. So let's say we are going conventional here. So we hit select. Our fees are now populated into our itemization. So that makes it easier for you to pretty much, the only fees are not populated in there are title and escrow fees. I usually go based off of my refis, a little bit cheaper, of course, but FHAs, I go based off of what I used to charge and I bump it up a little bit. If I'm just giving a quote. When you're doing disclosures, of course, we're going to go based on the actual fee sheet. So as we run through this here, again, if this is a purchase or a refinance, remember, you know, your purchase price. I know I have it as a refi right now, whether they're putting 5% down, or if it's a refi, of course, you don't need to put anything there. You just have your loan amount. So as you can see right now, because let's say I'm doing a refinance, and I just put my value, I know that I'm at 95% LTV, right? So that's why this is important for you guys to do that, for especially for your refis, so that you guys can know where you are in your LTV. It's also, you know, if it's a purchase, you just put the estimate as 550, what your purchase price is, and then you could put it right here, 550. So now, again, it's still going to show as 95% LTV based on that. Your note rate, we all know rates have gone up and they're, you know, they're still low. I mean, I was around back in 2004, 2005, you know, and they were 10, 12%. So when people are, you know, I'm like, this is nothing, guys. Like we could still sell these loans. But, you know, let's say, I love it. I love how they said, there's a little meme that says, you don't want a 7%? Here, 6.99. So let's say, you know, you place that rate. You can go ahead and price this out right here. If you guys have not learned how to use your pricing engine, I can definitely hook you guys up with Ruben. He's really good at teaching that. So that can be one of your courses as well that you guys take on your onboarding. So it's something you guys definitely want to do. But this is how you would price your loan up here. Again, so this is going to start giving me what? It's going to start giving me my monthly payment, right? So I have now pretty much completed my borrower summary. It's now complete. It's going to now translate a lot of this information over to my application. So let's say, you know, to the rest of my application. The next page I go to is my ERLA lender. Why? Because again, I want to go quickly, especially as I'm in front of a borrower. At this point, when I'm in front of a borrower, I'm going to be honest, guys, I do my borrower summary, my ERLA lender, and then my income. That's what I do because I'm in front of a borrower, and a lot of the times they don't want to sit there and wait for us to complete our application, right? The first time I started completing this application, it took me over half an hour just to kind of get to know the pages. Now it takes me anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to complete. Actually, it took me like about 45 minutes the first time because I was barely getting to know it. It takes me anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to complete a full application. It doesn't take me long because I follow these steps and I already know where everything's at, right? But these, you know, of course, our application went from 4 pages to 10, you know, so it's very, very different. Anywho, so I go to the ERLA lender because this is where my property information is going to be and my payment information. If your borrower is buying units, you want to place this here. Why is that important? Because whether it's buying or refinancing, your DU and LP need to read what you need. Sometimes it's going to require, sometimes it'll require reserves. If you guys don't place the appropriate number of units here, and let's say we go back as your processor and go ahead and run it again as 2 units when you had put 1, and now it's asking you for 6 months reserves and your borrower doesn't have it, you know, it's better to be prepared ahead of time. So it's good for you guys to put whether it's a 1 unit or 2 unit here so that you guys can go ahead and get the right readings when you do DU and LP. I also do hold a course on that, so I am going to hold that one next so that you guys can also see how to, you know, you don't have to get super in depth of reading it, but what is going to affect your transaction and what you need to get upfront to make sure that you're getting through your transaction much quicker. The year build is not that important. We can fill that out for you, but if you do have it off your property profile, you can do that. But let's say we're buying 2 units. So I want to go ahead and show you guys how to do your gross rental income. So here, legal description, you can put see prelim, see preliminary report. You know, you can leave it blank and our disclosure department will fill it up. It's not huge, but you don't need to put the full legal description. Again, here, just remember to mark what your property type is, whether it's a condo or PUD, or it's not located in a project because it's a single family or units. Here, let's say we're doing a purchase, even if it's a refi, remember, you can use gross rents if they're actually collecting gross rents on this is for the subject property. So just keep that in mind. So let's say it's a purchase and they're the second unit, they can get $1,800 for it. When you go in, you place your 75% off of that. And now you guys can see we have a DTI. We now have a DTI because we now have given the system some income, right? So it's going to give you your front and back. It's going to match right now because I have not imported liabilities. So of course we're going to have a front and back. This is going to be the income for your second unit. Why do we give it 75%? We give it 75% because they are not currently collecting rents on it. If this was a refinance and they do have the gross rent, I do hold a class as well on how to calculate your gross rents. You can put 100% if it's on their taxes and this is the subject property they're refinancing. But at this point, if they're purchasing, the market rents it's $1,800, you can only give them 75% of their as a net income for that income. So now if this was a refinance, I'm going to just click this here. This is going to not be grayed out. So here you want to give us a little bit of information, whether it's a no cash out or cash out. If it's a cash out, you just click on that cash out. And then this drop down, whether it's a cash out limited or if it's a rate and term, what is it? Are they debt consolidating? Are they home improvement? Again, this is giving your processor a story. You don't necessarily need to fill this out, but this information is on your property profile, so you can. Date acquired just basically means when did they buy the property? Maybe they bought it in 2012. How much did it cost them? Let's say it cost them, $250,000. So you can place that on there. Again, whether it's a full doc just means whether it's W-2, all that good stuff. So you can just click full doc. If it's a purchase and you're gonna go ahead and see that this gets grayed out, so this information does not apply. So you can skip through that. So this is only for refinance. This is only for construction loans. We currently, I do not do construction loans, but I think we are going to start. So, you know, keep an eye out for that. You don't need to put transaction details because this is not a part of this. Again, this is more for construction and renovation. Here it's important. Estate will be held in what? It's always a fee simple. We do not do leaseholds of properties. Leaseholds, a lot of the times, it's mostly like manufactured homes that are land lease. So most of our properties here in California are fee simple. So fee simple. How they're going to take title. If you don't know, just click the other. That's okay. It's not a big deal. You don't need to fill out this trust information. That's okay. You can leave that blank. Again, this is already translated from the first page that we completed, as well as this, as well as this, as well as this. Now, here's your proposed payment. Again, if you're in front of a client and you just want to get to the payment and the income so that you can make sure your DTI works and your credit, just run, you know, through your first page and then come to your lender. So for homeowners insurance, you can place a value. Some people like to do the value and I'll calculate based off of your loan amount. I usually, let's say it's 2 units, I'm going to calculate about 130 bucks, right? Or $135. Why? Because rates on insurance have gone up just as much as our rates have gone up. So I want to, and this is just based on our, of course, our experience in house that we've seen insurance, you know, quotes coming through, even on single families right now, we're seeing some really high rates. Sometimes I used to, you know, back then you used to quote what, like 65 bucks. Now I quote $95 on a single family. Why? Because again, you know, rates have gone up on the insurance. So let's say this is a unit. So we went ahead and put that. We're at 95%, guys. So remember, we're going to need mortgage insurance, but let's do the property taxes first. So here you're going to click your value and it's already going to be on a default of purchase price. So of course, here in California, we do 1.25. Every state is different. So you want to get your state rate. And this is going to calculate based on your purchase price. So let's say my purchase price changes because you're quoting them, right? And my loan amount, well, we want to make it, let's say 600,000. Oh, I guess not. Where's my LTV going crazy? So this is why I like using this front part, because for some reason it's going crazy on my LTV. Oh, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, we'll go back to that. I don't know why my LTV is at 106. But anywho, so this right here is going to calculate based on what? It's now calculating on my purchase price. Okay, so anytime I change this purchase price, because let's say I'm giving them a quote, it's going to calculate off of that. Keep in mind, guys, condos, you know, PUDs that do have association fees, you want to put that here because you do have to calculate based on these fees all the time. Because let's say they're putting, you know, 80% down and they're like, oh yeah, but I'm going to, you know, pay my taxes and insurance separate. And you erase this because you're like, oh, well, yeah, we're going to just calculate your income based off of this. You can't. You have to actually give them a full quote based on taxes and insurance and mortgage insurance if they qualify for that. It does not need to be impounded, but it needs to be in here if they're at that 80% mark. Let's say now we do have mortgage insurance. If this is FHA, I'm going to go ahead and switch this up to FHA to show you guys how you can go ahead and calculate. Oh, I know my DTI is because of this. That's why. Let's put it really high. So now it's calculating based on what I put here. See, that's why the DTI LTV is important here, because if you notice it was going all haywire, it calculates based off of that. So let's say this is an FHA, right? We're going to go ahead and just place this as an FHA. It's going to enforce the county limits because remember here in California, we do have county limits based on, you know, whatever county you're purchasing, Riverside, San Bernardino, they have changed. So that's the cool part. So let's go in here. We now made this FHA. We're going to go back to the lender page. We're going to go back to your mortgage insurance and click that. And you're just going to hit get MI. And then boom, it went ahead and calculated it for you. and it gave you your upfront mortgage insurance and how much that is, and your actual MI. And just keep this in mind, guys. If you notice, this is a 1.5, not a 0.85. This is why it's important for you guys to do this when you're doing FHA, to hit your get MI. Why? Because it's now a high balance loan. When they're high balance, your mortgage insurance is not 0.85, it's actually higher. So if, let's say we hit okay, and it's 542, but you went and manually put 0.85, it's different. It's a huge difference. So that's important when you're calculating, because again, your mortgage insurance is going to be wrong if you manually do it, because it does depend on your actual base loan amount. Right? So we have now calculated it correctly. We have all this information on here. So now the system's actually calculating based on the terms of your loan here. So you have now completed your lender page, with the exception of here. This is important for down payment assistance, your 3% downs, which is like the Fannie or the home ready home possible loans. When you're doing the down payment assistance, the Fannie 3% or the home possible home ready loans, they do have to take an education program within the last 12 months. So whether it's a yes or no option, you just place that here. If they're doing 95% down or regular FHA, they don't have to do the homeownership education. But let's say you're getting them down payment assistance, they do. So you want to click yes. You don't have to complete this information just yet, but just keep in mind they must attend a workshop. And again, I can show you guys that as well. So let's just say this is a regular FHA. We're going to click no. We are now going to move on to our page 1. Your page 1 is going to have information on citizenship, whether it's a citizen, permanent resident, non-permanent resident. If they are DACA, you can put that here and just put DACA, and we will know what type of loan we're dealing with. If it's a permanent resident or a non-permanent resident, you do need to get their work permit or permanent resident cards front and back copies. So let's say it's a U.S. citizen. Let's say this person is unmarried. You do want to answer this. Do they have somebody who's legally bound to, similar to a spouse, yes or no? Most of the time it's going to be a no. And that's basically a domestic partnership. That's what it is. Your number of kids, if they have any dependents, you want to just put that, whether it's 2 and their ages separated by comma. Again, this information is already going to translate from that first page as well as this, as well as this, as well as if they have a former. This here is a mailing address. If this is a purchase, let's say it's investment property and they want the actual bill to go to their home address, just click that same billing address, right? If not, you don't have to, because remember, if this is a purchase and they're purchasing a primary, their mailing address is not going to be the same as their current because they're going to move. Here, whether they're military, especially if you're doing a VA, you want to go ahead and complete that yes or no. Their language preference. Again, this is for HMDA report as well as internal. If you have your processor that you want them to contact your borrower directly or your loan officer assistant, you want to know what language they speak, right? Most of the time here, we deal with English or Spanish. We don't have people who speak these other languages yet, but maybe in the future we will. And now we're going to go to your page 2. Your page 2 is your employment. So again, you want to fully complete this. Make sure you guys are putting the address of where they actually work. A lot of these pay stubs are going to have a corporate address. So you want to put the address of the actual place they work at. Their position or title and their start date is super important, because if it's less than 2 years, we must have a 2-year history. Let's say you do have a borrower who, went out of high school, went to college, and they just got a job, 3 months ago. Remember, you guys can use, certain colleges getting their diploma to use that. Let's say you're in front of a client, you've already done your lender, you've already done your page 1. You want to just, okay, let's go and just start putting their income because I want to see their DTI. You can just skip through that and then go back and finish it later. If they're employed by a family member, it's really important that we do get that information because it will come up. And we've had situations where the deal either dies or something like that. It's not a bad thing, but it helps us be able to get the appropriate paperwork to make it work. Again, make sure you guys are putting position and start date. It's super important because we want to know, you know, what it, especially if they have several employments, we want to make sure that it's, you know, consistent. If it's a business owner, you can click this business owner option here, whether they have less than 25% or more than 25% shares. If it's a Schedule C, it's always going to be more, because usually Schedule C's, it's only themselves that are doing the income, and you can place your income right there. So now your DTI has changed, as you can see, right? Now, if it's not a self-employed borrower and you need to calculate their income, this is a really, really cool little tool. You click your little edit value and you can do whatever their income is. Let's say they have a yearly salary only that you know of, and they make $95,000 a year. Boom, oh, $950,000. Boom, you put it in. Now you know what? I gotta lower my purchase price because they don't qualify because my DTI is too high. You know, again, if it's hourly, you want, or monthly, semi-monthly and bi-weekly, make sure you guys are noticing what actual pay period is. This is 24 pay periods. This is 26, and this is 24. So it does make a huge difference what you choose if they're getting paid bi-weekly or semi-monthly. Hourly, let's say they're getting paid hourly, they're getting paid, let's say, you know, $42 an hour. I'm sorry, this is your hours per week, 40 hours per week, $42 an hour. It'll calculate it for you. And again, that way you know what your DTI is. Bonuses, commissions, overtime. I do have a class on this, so, you know, I'm definitely going to be offering a lot more classes. Keep in mind, you guys have to calculate them appropriately. FHA only allows previous 2 years, unless you can justify why you're giving them the current year. Conventional, you can do all 3 average, so previous 2 and year to date, depending on your DU or LP readings. But FHA is very, very strict. They do say previous 2 years on the actual guideline. So you would only be able to use 21 and 20 to average out, and they must be averaged. So you're going to grab whatever they made the last 2 years, average it out, and put that on here. If they do have additional employment, this is for your additional, and this is for your former if they had a previous and they only have been here for less than 2 years. If you complete this section here, guys, you know, and you're like, oh my God, this is the previous employer, that's okay. You can click your show all VOE, go to where it said the previous, scroll down and make this a prior. So now it'll automatically move it from your additional to your prior. That way you don't have to delete and retype it all in here. Just a little pointer. If you started typing it in here and you meant to type it in the top, again, you can just do current, it'll move it up. If you do have a second employment, but the second employment, you know what, it's not helping me, it's hurting me, you can just click your delete button here, delete the record, and it's gone. So these new features that these applications have make it so much easier for you guys to navigate and delete and move stuff. If they don't have either, just click does not apply, and then you move on to the next income source. Here is where you will put whether or not your borrower or co-borrower have any type of alimony, foster care. We do foster care. We've done plenty of foster care. So these are a little bit different. So, you know, keep in mind that you can use that. Border income can be used if it's on their taxes only. So you can use border income, whether they have pension or royalties. We had one where I think it was Tupac's previous manager or something, and he was making royalties. You know, so you can use royalties, Social Security, again, Social Security, pension, foster care, all that stuff is allowed to be used on your child support, alimony. Of course, you know, with appropriate paperwork, you'll just, you know, use those type of incomes here. And let's say this is somebody who's getting Social Security. Remember, you place it on here, and then boom, my DTI changed because now I have extra income. And that is it for your income. So your page 2 is always income. So remember, page 1 will help you place your borrower's information. Page lender is your payment. Page 2 is income. If you're in front of a borrower, that helps you. Page 3 is your assets and liabilities. Here's where you will put your bank accounts. Who does it belong to? What type of account is it? Your financial institution account number. You can put the last four, that's fine, as long as we can associate what account it's attached to and the cash value on here. For other assets, a lot of people like to use this for cars, all that. Keep in mind, guys, we do not use that. We will delete them for you, because let's say, for instance, you go in and place a car, a value of 100,000, but you need reserves. That's not a cash or market value, right? So it will pick it up as reserves, and it's not reserves, so you can't place that on here. So a lot of people do like to do automobiles. It's not actual reserves. Here you want to place this if you have some type of here, like pending net sales from real estate assets. You can use that here, because again, if you're going to use those proceeds to purchase this transaction, then you want to make sure that you're placing that on here and not up here, because remember, here we're going to track it based on account number. Here is where you would put your pending net proceeds for a real estate transaction that you're going to be using. So you can use that. This is what this is mainly for. I know it does say earnest money, but your earnest money is not placed on here. I'll show you guys where. Here's your liabilities. So again, once I show you guys right now how to run credit, you order credit and import liabilities, it'll import here. Here, guys, this is something that I teach everybody simply because it is something that comes up a lot. When you have an installment that is a child support, it'll say County of LA, and it's for a child support, right? So sometimes it has an account number. I had a situation where it was a $750 a month, and it comes up as an installment. Because of the rule that if an installment is less than 10 payments, and can it be excluded, that it excluded it for me, right? Up here in my DTI, you guys can notice it's hitting me with it. But when I ran DU and LP, it was not matching. And remember, your LTV, your DTI, all your numbers must match, because once it goes to an investor, it all must match, right? So what we had to do is we had to hit our show VOL. And I'm going to show you guys why. You want to exclude it here. And you want to put a small note saying, placed in other. Why? Because you're going to show your underwriter, your processor, that you actually moved this liability, because when we exclude it, now our DTI is lower, right? But you want to put it here, because here is where, if this borrower is paying any type of job expense, any child support or alimony, where you want to hit him with it. Because up here, if you have set installment, I'm sorry, I pressed the wrong button. And it's, there we go. So if up here you have an installment, let's say it's a car payment, you can exclude it, but not a child support, right? Because we don't know when that order is going to end. So we are now moving it here, and your actual DTI will read correctly. You're not double hitting with it, and your DU or LP is going to pick up what type of liability it is. And that's with installment loans. Now, let's say this was a car payment, and they owe $5,000, but their payment is $750. When you run DU or LP, now FHA, the guideline reads, I believe it's a certain percentage of their income. So you guys want to double check that guideline with me, and I'll let you know if it applies or not. But what you can do is you hit your show all VOL, and you're going to tell the system, you're not going to exclude it here. You're going to tell the system, well, this is less than 10 payments. So number of months to exclude from installment, 10. So now you guys are going to see how your DTI, boom, went down from 79 to 71, because it is excluding this debt, because it's an installment. Any installment less than 10 payments can be excluded. Again, FHA guidelines a little bit different, but I can go through that with you guys separately. If it's a lease payment, it is not an installment. You cannot exclude it. So keep that in mind, guys. Do not exclude lease payments that are less than 10 payments. Leases are pretty much a stronghold. You can't exclude it. You can't pay them off. Keep that in mind. You cannot pay them off through a transaction. The only way you can exclude or remove a lease payment is outside of a transaction, because a lease is very different and terms depend on the term of the lease, which is something that causes issues sometimes when we have people excluding or trying to pay off lease payments. So keep that in mind, guys. You cannot exclude or pay off lease payments through a transaction. There are ways around it, but that's a separate, class. Financial information here would be your REOs. If they have more than one property, you can start placing them on here, who it's owned by. You want to make sure that you're placing all the information. Let's say they have a house, but they're buying another one, and it's a departing unit, this one. You want to put this as a primary, and it'll be used as an investment. Now you can actually give it some net rent, right? Now here it's telling me what net income rent. Well, I don't have that. I don't want to put that here because it's going to give me 100%. I'm going to show you guys where. You can link your liabilities here. Let's say this was a mortgage and you want to link it and hit OK. Now it's going to give you a negative amount, right? Now your DTI is different. But let's say I'm actually buying, this was a 4-plex, and I'm buying, you are now making this a rental or a hold. It's a 2 to 4 units. And now here, I'm going to say, well, you know what? I'm already collecting a certain amount, so I want 2,800. Here is where you put your 75% of rental. And as you can tell, it went ahead and grabbed this. It multiplied it by 75%, and it subtracted your mortgage payment. Now, when you're linking your liabilities, you can attach them here as well, inside the show all. So what I did here is I basically hit show all VOM. This is your mortgages. So you can attach them here as well. I linked it outside here, which you can. It'll still link the same thing. But guys, keep in mind, let's say this payment was only principal and interest. You want to add your taxes and insurance. Let's say it's 500 in taxes, another 100 in insurance for the property. You want to place that here, because now your calculation will update based on your total cost of that mortgage, or that's sustaining that property. So you want to make sure you guys take a look at your mortgage statement so that you can see if it's actually impounded or not. So again, if they have more than one property, you could put it here. It only shows you 3, but if you fill that up, don't worry about it. Again, you can hit your show all VOM and you can click a plus button here.
We're not seeing the screen. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the screen is black with the iCore logo. I think stop sharing.
You see it? Do you guys see it?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
It stopped sharing because we passed our time. But thank you. Thank you for telling me. That's perfect. So did you guys see where I added the VOM? The house? So if you guys have more than 3, we can go ahead again, just hit your show all VOM and you hit your plus button here. It'll ask you to link the liability. Let's say it's free and clear. You don't have to, you hit OK, and it'll add another one. And this is just, again, if they have more than 3 properties and you run out of space here. But keep in mind, you do want to hit your show all VOM when you are calculating rental and gross income here. So that way you guys can calculate it properly. And if it's not impounded, you add your tax and insurance here. So that is that for page 3. So now
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
When you add the REO, do we have to exclude it from the liability so it doesn't double hit, or does your guys' system pick it up? Like,
if it's the subject property, it'll pick it up.
Okay, so we don't have to exclude it on the liabilities.
No, so let's say it's your subject property that you're refinancing. So you're gonna end up paying, let's say this is your mortgage payment.
Well, no, let's say they're buying a house and then their current home is a departure residence.
Oh, yes. So that's how you'll end up linking your liability, and it'll pick up that liability there. So let's say they're purchasing this home, and this is their departing residence. So you're gonna place the property. Let's say it's 1234 Main Street. So let's say this is our primary residence currently. but they're now gonna make it an investment. Here, you're gonna
Mhm.
put property will be used as primary, and it is used as primary and will be used as investment. Because now it's going to actually hit you with that mortgage differently. So now when you go in and show your all VOM, you're gonna wanna link the liability. Here, you'll attach that mortgage. Hit okay, and it'll pick up that payment here.
Okay,
And that's gonna go ahead and adjust your DTI as needed. Because if you don't place that this is, you see how your DTI changed?
right.
Your front end, so if you place this as an investment, it's automatically gonna change based on this net income here. So you
Okay.
do have to add your numbers. Let's say it is a departing unit and you're gonna rent it for 2,800, but your taxes and insurance are not included in your mortgage. You need to add that separately, and it's only 75%. So now it's calculating what your net income will be after all the expenses. And the reason it'll only give you 75% is because you're technically not currently renting it and showing it on your taxes.
Right, okay, cool. Because I've had some places where you have to like omit it from the liabilities, but
No, yeah,
Thanks
it'll
for
actually
helping.
pick it up that way here. So it's not picking it up twice.
Okay.
Yeah, because it'll link it here. Any other questions, guys? I know I'm running a little longer than I normally do. And then on your ERLA Part 4, here you again, a lot of this is already translated from all the other pages that we've completed. It does not translate the construction method. You do want to place that again here, site built. Whether it's site built, which is single family, duplex, any of that, even condo or manufactured home. So these are usually the only other two options that you're using. This here is only if they're either buying or refinancing another home. We obviously don't want them to do that because then you have to hit them with another payment. And of course, that's going to change your DTI, right? So you do want to ask them though. We've had people that do it, that either have a HELOC being pulled from another property so they could buy this property. We had somebody that did that and she did not disclose it because it didn't show up in her credit. But guess what, guys? It's going to show up on the LQI. So just have them be honest and we can add them in the credits. If it's not, then, does not apply. If we were not collecting rental income, you do click does not apply, and you're going to see right now, that it changed. Well, right now it's not going to change your DTI because we have the other mortgage on the REO. But if you're not collecting that, you can put does not apply. This here, guys, is if they're getting a gift. So let's say, for instance, your borrower is getting a gift from, a parent, a relative, anything like that. You want to this is where you want to place it. Give me one quick second. This is where you want to place it because remember, your DU or LP needs to read or give you what your requirements are going to be. Because it's very, very different than you having the actual money in the account, right? It's going to ask you for a gift letter, source of funds, all that. So this is where you want to place that. So you say your borrower is getting a gift. What kind of gift is he getting? Some people get a gift of cash. Some people get a gift of equity. Gift of equity is a lot of the times is like, let's say, a son is buying the house from the father. The father's going to gift them, $100,000 from the house value. Then you can place that here because it's going to give you that. It's basically not cash on hand, but it's a market value. So it's going to pick it up in your DU or LP and let you know how you need to source those funds, right? Let's say it's a gift of cash, whether it's in a bank account, it's not actual cash, you just put that gift of cash. Always, always, always put no on deposited. And I'm going to tell you guys why. If you put deposited, it's going to look for it in your assets. It's going to look for it here. And it's going to want to source your income, your assets very, very different. So if they're going to wire it directly to escrow, you just put your deposited as no. What source is it? Whether it's a parent, a relative, we do have unmarried partner. It's a fiance. So you can put that here. And then your value. So whatever amount they're going to be gifting them, it'll be right there. And again, this way your DURLP is going to give you the correct reading on what you're going to need for this source of these funds. The next is going to be your declarations and your, again, this is your demographic, your HMDA report stuff. So you want to go ahead and complete this. You do have to complete them, guys, because remember, DURLP is going to ask for a lot of readings on this. Will you be occupying the property? Yes or no? If it's FHA, it's got to be yes, right? This one here is, do you have ownership interest in another property? Let this guy, we said he has a departing unit, right? Yes, he does. He has a departing unit, so he has an interest. What type of property is it? Was it primary? Was it a second home, an investment? We complete that. It was a primary. I know I put units on this one, guys. Let's just say the other one was more units. How did they take ownership? Was it with a spouse, someone other than a spouse, a sole ownership? You want to just place that on there. If it's a purchase transaction, are you affiliated to the seller? If it's a refi, you don't need to complete that. The rest of these should be a no. You don't want them borrowing money because, again, you do have to place it in the liability if there's a payment. Are they applying for another mortgage? Are they reapplying for new credit or applying for new credit? It's huge when you're taking an application. That's something I always disclose to my borrowers, because they'll tell me, well, how long is this estimate good for, or this pre-qual good for? Well, it's good for 90 days, as long as your income does not decrease and your debt does not increase. And then I, of course, reiterate and keep, in mind, this market is ever so changing. So rates can go up and down, every day, every minute. So you need to keep in mind that, if you don't change your income, if you don't change your liabilities, you can be pretty good to go for the next couple of days with this ever changing market. Are they subject to any other liens? Right now, there's certain programs, especially these new constructions out in like Riverside, all that. I believe it's the state of California that they're requiring energy efficient, the solar panels. So you got to keep in mind, where are they buying this house? Are they subject to a clean energy lien? So yes or no on that. Most of these are no, because they're actually doing them kind of with the purchase of the property, the contractors. Some are not, so just keep that in mind. Again, this is about their financing. It should be no. Are you a co-signer to another debt? You don't want them to, that is not disclosed, right? Because if it's a co-signer that's under credit, that's different. Do you have any judgments, any default on federal debt, any lawsuits? Because again, if they have personal financial liability, we have to hit them with that personal financial liability. Either they had a property in lieu of foreclosure or a short sale, something that was foreclosed, bankruptcy. If it's a yes, guys, just answer the yes and provide the explanation. It's going to give you this little option here and provide that explanation. You want your DU or LP to run and be able to pass based on the correct answers, because once it gets through the transaction, your processor will need to rerun DU or LP, correcting the answers for you, and then your underwriter does as well, especially by CTC. So if this is incorrect and it comes up, it's better to just put the truth in there. Foreclosure, bankruptcy, again, if it's a yes on the bankruptcy, you just choose the type of bankruptcy, because again, they will come up. Keep in mind the federal debt guides. I've had situations, I had a client who came and qualified, and the minute I pulled his credit report, I saw a ton of federal student debt that was delinquent. So the first thing I ran was Cavers. So if they have delinquencies of any federal debt and it's gone to what they call a government default, they cannot go FHA. Why? Because they will get a Cavers hit. The only way they can go FHA is if they bring that debt current and begin a negotiation or payment with the federal government. They are the ones who will tell them how long it'll take for them to get out of that delinquency. So it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 3 months. It depends on the federal government negotiation with the client. So the only option they have is conventional, because FHA will not take a federal debt, anybody who has a Cavers hit on any delinquent federal debt. So keep that in mind, guys. So this is really important when you guys are asking them this, because like I said, I had that client. Luckily, we were able to close it with his wife, who was good, but I told him he has a lot of homework to do. Again, here, whether it's face-to-face, let's say you did do a face-to-face, but you did not take their ethnicity based on their surname or, you visualize this, I'm sorry, your ethnicity, race, or sex, you can put does not applicable. If you took a telephone application, still please put not applicable here. What ethnicity are they? Some people can get offended. I usually will have a conversation like, hey, you know what, I can't place your accent. Where are you from? And they love talking about their background. Some people do get offended. I've had it happen. So this is how I will take that, Again, this is ethnicity, this is race. If some people don't want to identify as Hispanic or Latino and white, so then you can just put, they did not want to provide that information. Just in case you have those, but you want to click both of these if they don't want to provide that info. Again, with the same thing with the sex, you guys can do the same. I do not want to provide the information if they don't want to provide it, or you go ahead and choose male or female. And that's your application. Now, if you do have a borrower who is not a spouse, it could be a brother, sister, mother, you want to click this little button here, and you're going to go ahead and click this plus button. This is going to add a second borrower for you here. So the only thing you need to do is you do borrower 2, and then you hit close. And now it has generated, as you can tell, we're looking at 1 of 2. We are now going to look at borrower 2. And the same thing applies. You just basically go through their application just like borrower 1. And you can add as many borrowers as you want, Now you're looking at 2 of 2. So let's say you want to add another one. You want to hit again, the borrower 2. Let's say you added another one. This is a cool part. This is why I usually will start, doing my application first, and then I run credit. Let's say I added a borrower 3, but they're like, oh no, but that's my mom and dad. Oh, okay. Hit your little add button, click on your borrower 3, and you're going to move your borrower to borrower 2. Hit move. Yes. It's just saying if you want to pair it, it starts generating it. Hit OK. This is telling you it has been moved successfully. Hit close. And now my borrower 2, I did not move. Sorry guys, hold on. I clicked the wrong move button. It's this move. So I'm moving in here. So now it's telling me you want to swap it. Yes. Hit OK because it's saying it's successfully moved, and you can see now it's up here. You hit close, and now you have your borrowers together. So usually this one, because I hit this other one, you can hit delete co-borrower. Let's say you are just deleting a full co-borrower. You can just hit the delete co-borrower, and it is. So I'm deleting it up here on my bad. This is the co-borrower. So I've now deleted borrower 3. If I accidentally had a borrower 3, or I want to remove him because his credit's not good, and I just did the whole application. So now my mom and dad are here. I'm up here, and now I can complete the application. So this is super user friendly. You guys can move them around, add as many as you need. And again, you just go back through the same process really of filling out the application for this borrower couple. Does anybody have any questions? So where you guys want to put your documents will go here in the E folder. It's going to open up, and you're going to hit your file manager, and you're simply going to drag and drop. So let's say, for instance, I have all my documents here, and I want to go ahead and drop them in here. Now, it's usually only PDF, Word, and pictures. It won't take anything else. So let's say I want to go ahead and drag and drop it in here. So now it's going to go ahead and save it here. So you want to just let it load, and then you can hit save, and anything that I uploaded here is going to be uploaded here. So pay stubs, W-2s, taxes, all that good stuff. So it's all going to go here on your folder called unassigned. You don't need to drag into folders. We'll do that for you. Your processing team will do that for you. But this is where you want to put all your documentation. So you don't need to email them. The only thing you do need to email is this form to new loans. And again, I'm gonna send out this email to you guys with, sorry, not the email, the form that'll have the email submission here. So you guys know who to email. And basically, all we need is this, escrow information or your fee sheet if you have it. And then we go from there. But all your documentation before it goes to processing must be up here. Pay stubs, IDs, taxes, W-2s, contracts, all that good stuff. We will obtain the additional items that we need from escrow for you, so you don't need to be chasing that around. Again, if it's easier for you to just provide us escrow information, like you can do that. We want you guys to be selling out there, not, but the application is important for you guys to be able to kind of navigate through it. Do you guys have any questions on that?
No, thank you for all the information.
So I'm gonna just quickly show you guys, let me just look for that loan really, really quickly. Because for some reason, I could not put it together earlier. But I wanna go ahead and show you guys how we go ahead and import. What's this nice name? Let me see, I have a question up here. Yes, Ivan, I'll send you guys the income calculator as well if you guys want it. I am gonna do another income calculation class because we do get a lot of asks for those. So, requests, I'm sorry, for those. So, we try to offer as much as we can here for you guys. It's important that if you guys have any options, any suggestions as to like, hey, you know what, this is going to be a better class for me. Can you guys help me with that one? By all means, let us know. We are going to have several classes coming up for you guys. And let me just, because again, I had the credit report here. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so let's say I'm just going to go back into one of these. So just really quickly, the last thing that you guys I want to show you is how to add a credit report. So I'm going to change this guy's name here. Oh, no. Actually, no. I apologize, guys. I forgot that it asks for a credit card. So I have to actually go in through here. Here it is. Okay, so let's say you guys are gonna run credit through here. Just make sure you guys double check your information. Make sure your first name, last name, social, date of birth is correct, and their address. In order for you guys to run credit, you do want to hit your, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this really quick. You're going to hit here, your order credit. It's going to generate here. You're always going to hit MFI, hit submit. And then it's going to ask you to choose your borrower, right? So we're going to choose Patrick, hit next. And it's going to ask you here if you're going to do a new. It'll ask you for your credit card information and account. Every loan officer is very different. A lot of loan officers like to have it set up where the borrower pays for it. Some want to pay for it themselves and just get reimbursed through the, the close of the transaction. It's really up to you as an LO how you want to run this. So it's absolutely up to you how you want to run this. Let's say you already ran credit outside on the MFI website. Super simple. You can just go ahead and import from website. You copy and paste your reference number and hit finish. So whether you're going to do a new request or an import, the new request will only require this information to be completed, and then you hit finish and it'll generate. The import from website is going to require a reference number and you hit finish. So now it's going to generate. And we're generating. And once it's done running it, it's going to open it up into another page, right? So it's now opened up to a separate page and it's giving me my credit report, right? I can review it here, which I highly recommend you do. Again, this is not actually giving me my credit decision making, but remember, it's always the middle of the two. So we have a high, a low, and a 670 FICO. So I'll just type that in here. Now I'm going to go back to my page 3, which is my assets and liabilities. And I'm going to hit my import liabilities here. Right now they're showing because we did it on another transaction. Once I hit import liabilities, it's going to actually pick up all the liabilities that are in my credit report, right? And I'm going to hit import, and it's going to automatically clean it up, make it nice for me, and import all my liabilities. And it's going to tell you how many you have. You hit OK, and it'll give you everything here. Your balances, your payments, and all that good stuff. So remember, and as you can see here, I did the child support scenario. And again, you can link liabilities here. If you have this property, you can link them here. You can link whatever liability it belongs to, and it'll automatically generate based on this income that you've placed on here, right? Or you can hit your show all VOM and click and link liabilities here. If it's more than one mortgage, let's say it has 2 mortgages, you can click both, and then boom, it just updated your balances here, and it updated your net income and all that good stuff. And you hit close, and of course your DTI will change based on that. So that was the last thing I wanted to show you guys. It's how to run your credit or import it through the system. Again, as long as you have your application completed, you can run the credit the same. You can even run it here in your page 3. As long as your page 1 is fully complete, same thing. You can hit order credit here. It'll be the same page, MFI, submit, and it'll be the same thing. You just basically either import you choose, because imagine if you have 2, you do have to choose which one you're running it for. You can either import it, so it'll actually be import, or new request. And then you hit finish. Anybody have any questions on that? Let me see what I got in the chat. Perfect. Okay. So again, sorry guys, it took a little longer to go through it. Usually we do about an hour with questions. But I am going to go ahead and send you guys the new loan submission sheet shortly. To everybody who attended. If you guys need additional classes, please don't hesitate to shoot me a message, you know, directly and say, hey, Jael, I want to learn how to do calculations for the Schedule C or the Schedule E, you know, or 1120s. I am going to do an 1120s class. I just recently did the Schedule C and E and basic income. I do a DU and LP class. We want to try to give you as much information that's going to help you guys get out there and know what you're selling, right? So I do have the Surefire as well. This is for our licensed LOs and the Simple Nexus. So I'm going to send out a calendar by Friday for the next classes all throughout October. Tomorrow we are going to have a non-QM class with David Tran. It's basically going to run through the non-QMs that we offer here. So if you guys want to come here in person or you want to do it through Zoom, the link has been sent out. And next week, we're going to have a probate lawyer come by. So if you guys, again, you guys are all welcome to come to all this. The more knowledge you have, it's you know, better. So I'm going to also shoot that one out for the probate lawyer, and that will be next Tuesday. So if you guys, do you guys have any questions? So if you guys don't have any questions, thank you guys so much for attending. I appreciate you guys being here. And if you felt like you had questions that you did not want to ask through the message, you can message me directly. I'm more than happy to help you guys. And thank you again for attending. And I'll shoot you guys all this shortly.